And here's one of our new segments for this time of year. We're on Tropics Watch across the area, and you can see we've got one of our first potentially named storms that's starting to develop in portions of the Gulf just off the coast of Texas. Now, right now, it's in far southern Texas, but once it makes its way offshore, by the time we get later to this afternoon and to tonight and to tomorrow morning, that's when it's going to start to strengthen potentially to tropical depression and eventually tropical storm levels. Now, this is expected to turn into what is going to be tropical depression or tropical storm Arthur as it makes its way into the Gulf. And then it's going to make its way further north into portions of Louisiana, maybe even into portions Mississippi and Alabama with what's left of it by the time we get to Thursday. So let's show you the track of this storm. Right now, it's currently in southern Texas to the south and west of Corpus Christi. By the time we get to tomorrow morning, it'll just be out to shore off the coast of Texas, close to Houston and Galveston. And then by the time we make our way into 7 a.m. Thursday, that's when it's further into Louisiana. Now, this is not going to bring hurricane conditions or anything along those lines, but it is going to bring some rough seas. It's also going to bring potentially tropical storm force winds and definitely a risk for heavy rainfall, flash flooding, maybe even a slight bit of surge for coastal areas. So let's show you what we're talking about here. Here's a look at the other risk that it's going to bring with it. This is a look at the tornado risk for today. And when you have that spin in the atmosphere from these systems, it can lead to coastal tornado probabilities. So between Jacksonville all the way down to Houston, you can see we've got this low end risk for severe weather, but it's primarily for a tornado risk today. Now, the tornado risk is generally low, but when you get the kind of spin in the atmosphere and the winds, you get these ingredients that are just favorable enough for some coastal tornado activity. So there could be a couple of, spin up tornadoes today along the Gulf Coast. So if you live in these areas, just be mindful of that. This is a look at what we've got with future scan radar over the next 48 hours. And you can see, we've got this activity that's going to be in the Gulf. And by the time we get to Thursday, it's going to bring heavy rainfall to coastal areas. And this could be anywhere from Louisiana all the way to the portions of the panhandle of Florida. And that's going to bring the potential for that heavy rainfall. Now, here's a look at what we've got with the heavy rainfall outlook over the next 24 to 48 hours. And notice off the coast and even in some coastal locations, we're exceeding that 5 to 8 inch mark. So there could be some areas that pick up maybe, 5 to 10 inches of rainfall, unfortunately, with that. So we're going to be looking at some coastal flooding issues, maybe even inland into portions of Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and into Georgia. Here's a look at what we've got with the days 1 to 5 rainfall outlook from the Weather Prediction Center. And you can see right here, it's off the coast, but when you start to see some areas near Jackson, Mississippi into that 15 plus range for rainfall, that's concerning for some flash flooding. So if you live in these coastal areas, just be on the lookout over the next handful of days for the potential for some heavy rainfall as a result from this system. So even though it's not a hurricane, it's still going to bring some major impacts to some areas, especially in terms of flooding, maybe a low-end severe weather ahead of that activity as well with the tornado risk that we have for today. And then we've also got the potential for some tropical storm force winds for portions of Louisiana, Texas coastal areas, maybe even into portions of Mississippi. So we'll have to be keeping an eye on that. That's a look at your Tropics Watch. We're going to be keeping an eye on this system throughout the week. We'll let you know the very latest here in the coming days. And stick around for more local forecasts here coming up. If you like our media and forecasts, be sure to support us today on Patreon. You can advertise with us this storm season and throughout the year. Contact us today for availability and pricing. Weather 225 since 2015.